I know what you are. You're a Souls-like fan. You played Demon Souls when it released back in 2009, scaling the Tower of Latria and fighting King Allant. You played Dark Souls, arriving in Firelink Shrine and heading straight to the catacombs. You played Dark Souls 2. While not as impressive as the first two entries, it still gave you a hint of the rush you were looking for in games. An undead curse that plagues the land, NPCs that are as cryptic as they are depressed, a world that's on the brink of collapse. Then you played Bloodborne, a gothic horror tale of eldritch monstrosities descending upon the planet, with themes of motherhood layered in between. You remember the screams in Yharnam, how every corner chilled you to the bones. You remember the feeling of finally understanding the world, only for it to be turned upside down halfway through your journey. Dark Souls 3 was your next adventure, back in familiar territory with new foes to slay. You were a more experienced player at this stage. The old vanguards and Dark Souls that blocked your path for days, today look like child's play to you. Now, you routinely seek a harder challenge in bosses like the Dancer and Gale. You think you've had your fill, but then something like Sekiro dons his beautiful mug. You thought you had figured these games out, that there was truly nothing you couldn't handle, and that the rush, the excitement of getting stuck on a difficult foe, and having to grind for the win was gone. But Sekiro was different. It changed what it meant to play Souls-likes, and eventually departed from that moniker altogether to become something new. Elden Ring made you realize that there were still some tricks up the sleeve for our favorite games. Malenia was unlike anything you had seen before. Mesmer was a spectacle to behold, and Rodan made us all doubt ourselves once more. Alright, enough of the grand arcing story of a Souls-like player. This description I just gave you was me, except for the Demon Souls part. I started my Souls-like obsession about 12 years ago. I had picked up Dark Souls 1 after watching PewDiePie of all people play it on YouTube. He was having a very difficult time with the game, and watching him rage was some of the funniest content a 12-year-old me could imagine. It intrigued me so much that I went ahead and bought the game. I remember getting stuck at Tourist Demon, until a glitch caused him to not aggro onto me and I whacked him to death, and thanked God I could move on with the game. I seriously thought of quitting right there. I remember how tough Ornstein and Smol were, and I used the Crystal Halberd until it broke to beat them, and then switched to the Black Knight Greatsword afterwards. Gwyn, as we all know, had only one viable strategy, parrying, and that's what I did to beat him. Ever since, I was hooked. I've played all variety of Souls games, you name it. Nioh, Kazan, Sekiro, if you're in that camp, Hollow Knight, a stretch I know, and even a bit of Remnant. But none of them come as close to doing the Souls-like genre justice as the topic of today's video, Lies of P. Lies of P was released in 2023 by NeoWiz and Round 8 Studios. Set in the fictional land of Krat, fashioned after Victoria-era England, Austria, or Germany. It follows the story of P. From the name, you might have guessed that it also plays with themes of lying, specifically from the fairy tale story of Pinocchio. Lies of P, and I'm gonna say it, is the greatest non-FromSoft Souls-like available to play today. And in this video, I want to tell you why. What made me initially want to pick up this game, and what I think all of you who have played it will agree with me on, is the Souls-like aspect. The way it was promoted, it was marketed as a Souls-like game, and nowadays, every game that has a stamina bar, a difficulty curve, and cryptic writing is seen as Souls-like. I wanted to see if Lies of P actually fit this definition, and I found out that it really does. What is a Souls-like, you ask? Or at least, how is a Souls-like being defined here? That's a good question. A lot of people consider Souls-likes to have a deliberate and simple to learn, difficult to master combat system, with RPG elements like upgrading attributes with in-game currency. The same currency is also losable after death, and you have one run to get it back. A checkpoint-based interconnecting level system is also a hallmark of Souls-likes, with bosses serving as level enders or the main challenge. And finally, perhaps the most important piece, is environmental storytelling through item descriptions or NPC dialogue that you have to go looking for. It isn't force-fed to you in a cutscene. It's a very loose definition, but you can generally tell when a game is a Souls-like. The Legend of Zelda has all of these, but it's not considered a Souls-like. Why? I think it's because the combat isn't the main and deliberate focus of the game. Exploration and puzzle solving is. Devil May Cry also has a lot of these elements, but the combat is more flashy and spectacle based, and is by no means simple. It's more of a performance than display of mechanical skill in the way that Dark Souls is. Please, DMC fans, I'm not saying your game doesn't require skill. It absolutely does. I suck at it, but it's a different skill than what Elden Ring asks for. Moving on. BioShock seems to fit the definition as well. Some of its story is told through recordings found around the areas. Its level design is interconnected, it has interesting combat, but it's also first person. I think by design, to this day, the agreed upon camera perspective is third person. As a matter of fact, a Souls-like mod for Skyrim even turns the game third person to implement it completely. So BioShock narrowly avoids this definition, and that's for the first two games. Infinite is a whole different ordeal. An FPS might have Souls-like elements, but none so far have fit the definition, at least in the way I'm defining it. But enough with semantics. I think you get the point, even if you disagree in some way. Lies of P under this definition fits the bill. What makes Lies of P so good? There have been a lot of Souls-likes in the past that don't get the praise that Lies of P does. Think about Neo. Great combat system, really deep skill trees and interesting power-up abilities, but it fails in so many other aspects. Level design, enemy variety, although Neo 2 improves this a lot, and boss design. Kazan is another one that comes close, but really fails in its narrative and environmental storytelling. Lies of P starts strong. It sets up the basic core of its world. The puppets and the forthcoming puppet frenzy. The world is also recognizable and beautifully designed. I mean, look at these streets on Rosa Isabel. Listen to the music that plays here while you're roaming around. It pulls you into the environment. The levels are winding and loop back into themselves. They can go from open and explorative to completely claustrophobic, locking you in rooms with fearsome foes. This, in essence, is Souls level design. It's not a runway filled with enemies like Kazan. It's carefully designed encounters that elicit emotions. One of my favorite sections in this game is the Grand Cathedral in Chapter 4. You start off in the base of a forest. This is such a shake-up from the cobblestone streets, concrete buildings, and neon signage of Krat. Suddenly, you're in the backwoods area of Krat. Small hamlets and destroyed shrines litter the area. Gemini, your trusted companion, explains that this was old Krat, before industrialization, before the puppet frenzy, and before the petrification disease that has taken hold of the area now. As you explore, you'll experience dilapidated bridges, winding paths that loop back into themselves, and a plethora of enemies that make you think twice before turning a corner. Passing through this area makes you feel safe, but on edge at the same time. There are no puppets here to sneak up on you. The sun is seething and yellow light gives a feeling of warmth. But as you look around, there's an air of danger. And all this changes abruptly when you arrive at the first piece of advanced machinery. An elevator up represents not only your ascension, but the ascension of Krat and its people. It represents Krat's ascension upwards and the departure from their roots. Once you're up there, you're introduced to the cathedral in all its opulence. Its beautiful marble flooring, gorgeous frosted glass windows, high spires marking the presence of an advanced civilization. But at the same time, it's dilapidated. It represents Krat as it is now, a beautiful but crumbling city. A city on a hill that's rotten to its core. And this is just one level. One area. The Malum district has its own beauty. Hotel Krat deserves a video of itself. Even the final level, which I won't spoil, has its own charm to it and plays with themes of ascension. But I didn't make this video to gush about the level design, although I easily could. Lies of P has much more up its sleeve. I want to talk about the combat and enemy design in Lies of P. If I were to dissect Souls-likes, for this example let's keep the FromSoftware Soulsborne games in mind, and then reconstruct my perfect idea of a combat system, it would have to be very close to what Lies of P has. Let's take Dark Souls or Demon Souls' fundamental basics of combat like stamina management, weapon attacks, and the dance of dodging and waiting for your turn. Take Bloodborne's rally system and the speed of gameplay. Take Elden Ring's build variety, and take Sekiro's parry system, and you have Lies of P. Lies of P has your basic dodging with iframes, it has heavy attacks and fast attacks that trade damage and speed. It has Fable arts to match Art of Wars. It has a parry system that directly ties into the rally system akin to Bloodborne. It even has a mechanical arm that can do various things like Sekiro. Where it really shines though is the variety of ways you can equip these weapons. Lies of P allows you to dismantle them. You can separate the blade and handle for most. The only ones you can't do this for are certain boss weapons. Let's take the handle of a dagger and attach a greatsword on top of it. You now have a greatsword damage type and attack speed with the moveset and scaling of a dagger. You can have a bunch of wacky combinations like this and still have them be a viable build path. But that's just half of the combat. The other half is your defensive options and tertiary tools. Parrying is heavily rewarded in this game. Lies of P, like Sekiro and Elden Ring, has a hidden posture meter for the enemy. You can break their posture after building it up with weapon attacks and parries. Once the health bar flashes white, hit them with a charged heavy to get a fatal attack. The parry window isn't forgiving either. It's really tight, and you better parry these red attacks. You're not dodging through them. Iframes be damned, unless you have a specific ring, of course. The puppet arm is also a great tool. It can act as a shield, a ranged weapon, a trap dispenser, and a grappling hook for enemies. You name it. Now, I'm not a blind glazer. There are some shortcomings of Lies of P. Namely, there's no magic in the game at all. You have cool weapons that can do some magic-like things, but there's no fundamental magic equivalent. There's also no two-handing or dual-wielding weapons. And for that matter, not a lot of ranged weapons either, unless you're talking about the DLC. So for all my power stance enjoyers, you're shit out of luck. But please, don't let that stop you from giving this game a go. I genuinely think it has some of the best combat mechanics you can find in games like this. Combat is only half the enjoyment though, so I gotta give you a place to test it. What better way than the bosses? There's a large variety of bosses in Lies of P. Some better than others, but Lies of P maintains a consistent excellence to its boss design. In a first playthrough, you can't disrespect a boss's moveset. You will die. Asylum Demon? I could care less where you're swinging. Vort of the Boreal Valley? Just a bump in the road. Let's take the Scrapped Watchman. First off, the design is great. His contorted body but human-like face really creeps you out. On a first time playthrough, he really puts you through the ringer. He has fast but telegraphed attacks. He has status elements like lightning you need to take care of. He has a phase 2 change halfway through the fight that makes him more aggressive. He's completely parryable, but you're gonna have to lock in if you want to get them. There's an element to this fight that I can't explain to you without having you played the game. That element being the fairness of it all. Not once during my time fighting him did I feel like he was unfair or doing too much. He keeps a consistent difficulty level that results in an enjoyable fight. Compare him to Melania, who has Waterfowl Dance. Whenever she jumps up in the air and starts doing it, I roll my eyes because it's so out of place in a game like Elden Ring. The Scrapped Watchmen, and for that matter, most of Lies of P bosses, don't really do that. But let's say you're not convinced. You don't want a fair fight. You want a fight that will push you to the edge and make you grind your teeth at the difficulty. I'm gonna block out names here and avoid showing story elements, but there's a boss in the DLC that will demand damn near perfection from you. Very fast and long combos that edge on impossible.
Check.
Punishment on healing at the wrong time.
Check.
Having to choose to attack or to go for a heal in the same open window, causing decision paralysis.
Check.
An incredible phase 2 that, despite having high damage and even lengthier combos, still manages to feel fair and just.
Check.
This fight puts Melania, Promised Consort Radon, and Elden Beast to shame. The only fights I can compare it to are Lady Maria, Orphan of Kos, Ishin Ashina, or Mesmer. It's such a display of skill and mastery over the game's combat system while managing to stay fair and non-rage inducing. It took me about 2 hours and 30 minutes before I beat the boss. My final strike was a Hail Mary. I didn't even know if it was going to kill. The attempt I beat him on, I remember being in Zen mode, completely locked in. As the health got lower and lower, my anxiety and excitement got higher and higher. At one point towards the end, I lost a bunch of health to where I was one shot away from dying and having to run the whole thing back. The boss backed away from me, and we both sort of prepared for our final moments. It was me or him, who was gonna come out victorious. The boss lunges forward, he does a fury attack. You can't iframe through these, and you must parry it. The windows on these are tight. Time stops, and I attempt the parry. I parried him. I got him. I do a strong attack into my final Hail Mary, and the fight is over. What a rush. I can't explain to you how hyped that moment was for me. The DLC is full of fights like this, especially the second and the fourth boss. In the base game, the Chapter 5 boss and some endgame bosses are similar in excitement and challenge. You gotta give them a try.
I'm so happy to see you.
But for all my story and lore nerds out there, you're in luck. Lies of P packs a punch in narrative storytelling, but also leaves plenty to be discovered. Similar to Souls, you can interact with a cast of NPCs with their own flavor of problems and takes on the world. Hotel Krat specifically is full of these guys. Eugenie is your resident waifu who can upgrade your weapons or alter them. She can also modify the scaling so she's a must visit when you find something you like. Her story is wrapped into the story of Aladoro, our resident boss weapon vendor. Aladoro is a treasure hunter who is down on his luck nowadays and is looking for a way out of Krat. Lady Antonia brings some class and elegance to the classic and elegant Hotel Krat. She is affected by the petrification disease, but that doesn't stop her from having a great outlook on her life. She also has a puppet butler with some springs loose. Sophia is your firekeeper, emerald herald, blind, foot fetish inducing maiden in black, or doll. Giuseppe Geppetto is also present throughout the story, and I'll leave it up to you to find out what happens with him. But as for our favorite Hotel Krat resident, the most esteemed, prestigious, honorable, Lorenzini Venini, a titan of industry for Krat. He's responsible for the distribution of puppets across Krat. He owned Venini Works, where he mysteriously gets trapped. Rescue him and bring him back to the hotel, and you're in the presence of greatness. Also, I just love saying his name. These are just the main NPCs. There's plenty of overworld side quests you can encounter that are pretty rewarding to do. It shines a light on the world itself and how the residents of it lived. How entrenched puppets had become for Krat, and how this was their ultimate downfall. My favorite was the backstory of the scrapped watchman. There's even class struggles and fighting explored by the game. The puppet frenzy, the name for the phenomenon of puppets going crazy and attacking people, was first noticed by the upper class residents of Krat. But as pompous rich assholes do, they ignored it because puppets were a bit too convenient for their lives. That is until the frenzy really took place. The DLC even adds Bioshock style audio entries for the player to listen to. It details the main events of a specific character in the DLC you're chasing. There's one in particular you get halfway through the DLC that's just gut-wrenching to listen to. Spoilers ahead. Skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid them. If you listen closely, you can hear a specific event taking place that's only revealed to you towards the end. You can hear Arlecchino stumble around and walk towards Romeo.
Legs, a sunny outlook on life.
You hear Romeo's emaciated breaths as he's trying and failing to fight whatever Arlecchino is going to do. Eventually, you hear a blood-curdling scream and the sound of machinery going off. At the final level, the Monad Charity House, you find out what this was. It was Arlecchino sawing off Romeo's arms. On my first listening, I didn't notice this detail, but after watching Kitetail's video on it, I became privy to this. Check her out for more videos on Lies of P lore, she does a great job. Beyond that, item descriptions give you even more context on the world, and so do some collectibles you can find. Some collectibles that aren't related to the lore directly, but still matter and illuminate some of the feelings and emotions the characters have, are the records. I'm going to play a couple seconds from some of the ones I got on this run. I really enjoyed the music of this game.
Close your eyes, come to me, feel alright. Just dance with me all through the night.
flocons de neige qui brillent dans le ciel nocturne me réconforte. Je t'attends.
So yeah, that's my pitch for Lies of P. 2 years late, but I don't care. I love the game, and I feel like everyone who loves Souls games and enjoys the action RPG genre should be playing this. It's a great modern video game and needs to be explored and celebrated. Lies of P has its own criticisms, like the linear level design, mission-based system, the whole P organ blocking some basic upgrades. Like, why would you keep a second role or the ability to get off the ground quickly as an upgrade? And lack of armor options. But despite all that, it excels so well in areas it's good at that you forget all of that and end up wanting more. I really do stand by my belief that this is the only game I've played of its genre and subgenre that has emulated the Dark Souls formula but kicked it up a notch and even surpassed it, at least in my view. Dark Souls 1 and 3 are still the gold standard because they came first and everything is compared to them for a reason. But Lies of P is the deserved protege. If you truly love these games, you'll come away from Lies of P with an admiration like mine or a respect for the craft. Thanks for listening. Monologue time. Lies of P was a great game. I'm really glad I stopped and gave it a go before I played Twilight Princess. After Wind Waker, like I said in my previous video, I was really a little bit not burnt out, but I was really feeling the fatigue of like the same type of design, the same type of combat, and the same type of world, same characters. So I decided to play Lies of P to kind of break up the monotony of it all. Currently I'm playing through Twilight Princess, and I'm very happy to kind of give an early review. I'm about, I think, 40% of the way through, and I'm really enjoying it. I actually really feel like it addresses a lot of the complaints I had in Wind Waker, and I can't wait to talk about it. So yeah, that's my update. If you're still listening, thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate you staying here till the end of the video and listening and, you know, giving it your attention. I really feel honored. Hopefully you'll come through for the Twilight Princess video. I plan on having it released about a week, probably 2 weeks after Lies of P, after this video goes up. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. See ya, guys.